Hello, and welcome to a very special Drinking with Comics. I'm Shawn, this is Mike, and that is Adam Marcus on the end, and we're here to memorialize Robert Kirkman and Charlie Adlard's The Walking Dead comic.
And Tony Moore, let's not forget.
And Tony Moore did the first six issues. Yes. And there's a host of other people involved, but
Yes.
So, but he famously did the first six
I don't
issues
have my glasses.
and then left, and Charlie Adlard took over. But so, if you didn't know, I'm assuming that it's not important to you that we're spoiling it by this point.
Good point.
And it is everywhere. I mean, I was concerned, and Mike's like, dude, it's in like Newsweek.
It was
and,
covered at LA
like
Times.
Entertainment Tonight. John Tesh came out with his guitar and played a song about it with Dweezil and Ahmed Zappa.
Oh, that'd be good.
That would have been cool.
Dweezil makes everything.
And Mary Hart spoke, and people died.
Who's Mary
at the sound
Hart?
of her voice all over the nation. It was crazy.
Is that Mary
It
Hartman?
was kind of like the Empty Man, but
Okay.
so anyway.
Okay.
But I digress. So, this week, like nobody knew until, I guess, news first got out Monday.
Yeah.
That the series was ending with number 193. And
He had even solicited 194 and 195
so
with plot, like you know,
he had covers.
the average.
He had full
covers,
covers
so
and everything else. Oh, yeah.
The way that I found out Monday night, Chris Saunders from the show sends me a link, and it says Bleeding Cool spoiler Walking Dead 193, and I'm like, I'm not clicking this link, dude. He's like, just be sure to buy it. I'm like, I always buy it. So then, of course, all night I'm fucking thinking about it. I wake up in the middle of the night, take a leak, I'm thinking about it, right? I'm like looking at my phone, trying not to click the link. Okay.
That's me in porn, by the way. That's how xhamster.com. I try not to click that link.
They're our sponsor, in case
Anyway.
you're wondering why that plug was there. But so I tried not to click it, and I didn't. But I said to her, I'm like, the only thing I can think is because, spoiler, in 192, Rick Grimes died, right?
Yeah.
And it was an unbelievable death. And
You can just show. You don't need it. All right.
Oh, you can edit, I guess.
No, it's clear.
yeah,
Oh.
well, there's a reflector.
Yeah, I was thinking
Sure,
about the lighting.
yeah.
Mr. Director.
Yeah.
So well, he does know. He does know.
I'm more interested in pacing.
Talk.
For the
So-
love
Keep
of
pacing,
God.
pacing.
So I'm thinking the only thing I can think is that they're ending it. But so I go and I Google the solicitations for 194, and it's there, and I see a cover. I Google 195, and it's the cover. And in fact, there's a description and for 195. It says another massive death.
Yes.
I'm like, holy shit! What? So I'm thinking, so they're not ending it. So I go Tuesday, almost the whole day, like knowing the link is there, not clicking it, and then I go to Newsarama, and they didn't bother to hide it behind a spoiler
Nope.
wall. It was just the headline is Walking Dead. So I'm like. Anyway, I don't know about you gentlemen. I got here as soon as I could on Wednesday. I bought it. I went home and I fucking cried reading it,
Oh,
and it was beautiful.
Did you film that? Did you film
No,
that?
but I might cry tonight. So.
Oh, let's try to
But
evoke.
talk to me about it, guys. How did you find out about? How did it affect you on that day and since?
Well, I mean, Walking Dead, incidentally, like kind of like right when we opened the comic bug, was around the time Walking Dead #1 came out.
Really?
And I sold it to this man, who I knew loved horror stories and stuff. And I'd only known him a few weeks.
Yeah.
And he bought #1, and hopefully when he sells it, he'll give me some residuals from that. but so I, like Walking Dead, when it came out, I was a big fan of the Romero zombie movies.
Yeah.
And,
Yes,
and my friend
yes.
back in North Carolina was a
Yes.
huge fan. So I bought 2 copies of #1. I bought number 2 through 6, intending to send them to my friend back in North Carolina. And if you're watching out there, Gary Hill, I told you I'd send you an autographed Stan Lee poster. I never fucking send anything in the mail to anybody ever. I do get it, I procure it, and it's here.
You were just there. You couldn't.
No, that was in.
You took like
he was in Chicago, huh?
Well, you had like a van. Anyway.
I didn't drive the van there. I drove it back.
Yeah, that's true.
But anyway, but I intended to send these books to Chris, and then when the Walking Dead show was announced, of course, the books just shoot up in
Yes.
value.
Yeah.
And I still hadn't sent him the books, and this is like 9 years after, and like we talked maybe every 6 months. He's like, "Hey, by the way, when you send me those Walking Dead books?" I'm like, "I will send you the trade. Sure. I'll send you the trade." So, so I had 2 #1s and issues 2 through 6. I'd sold Adam #1. He signed up for it on his pull. I pulled it whenever I didn't screw up and not pull it religiously over the last, 12 years?
Yeah.
15 years?
15 years.
15
yeah.
years. So we were doing a Spider-Man Far From Home screening on Tuesday. We don't normally get our books on Monday, but we have 2 stores, so we have the ability to get our books on Monday and do all that we need to do with subscriptions and stuff. And just coincidentally, like, it was that Monday that we got the books, and and one of our staff, Mikey, he like flipped me to the back of the book, and he's like, "Oh shit, and he's like, "What's going on?" And June's like, "Don't tell me," and Mikey's like, "No, you gotta know, you gotta get." And June's like, well, "Don't tell me, I want to read it." And then I saw it. I hadn't read Walking Dead in years, and I'm like, "Oh shit, yeah, we might need to know this for a business reasons, you know."
It's like the comic book version of insider trading.
Yeah, totally.
This is like
Is that what's going on
truly,
here?
it's like
That's
the big
bad,
sword
isn't it?
of comics.
Yeah. So June and Jeff, which I posted the picture, I took it down, are reading the book, and they didn't flip to the end like me and Mikey do because we don't really care. We just want to see where the money's at. And it took them forever to read this fucking thing, like an hour.
Because they were probably crying.
And it's actually
June never cries.
Here's the thing: everybody should have kind of known something was up. That it's one of those books that Image would have tried to bilk us for about $8 for this book,
right?
And it's still only $4.
That's got to be all down to
It's
Kirkman. Yeah.
so big.
71
it's like
pages.
something's going on.
Yeah. That's what she said. Anyway, that's the best use of "that's what she said" in 5 years. Thank you.
I'll take that.
But anyway,
that's
so
what she said
we see that it's the last issue. We see the hoax and everything. And we decided to order 200 more copies immediately. We probably should have ordered everything that was left because this is like the biggest thing since like Death of Captain America, Death of Superman. And it was the surprise element, the surprise factor that made it work so well. Mm-hmm. And he references Game of Thrones, and the reason people tune into Game of Thrones is like, oh shit, who's going to die this week that I love, And that was the same with this book for the whole history of the
Until
book.
it wasn't.
This book?
No, I'm saying the Game of Thrones thing. I think that worked for a while, and then it didn't work. And it's almost when the creators of the show moved away from Martin's material because Martin had not written
they used
anymore.
it all, yeah.
Right, there was nothing left, and suddenly they went to new rules, and suddenly it wasn't kill of every 3 episodes that's going to harm the audience's psyche.
Yeah.
And the show worked, I think, better at that point because they had the formula was showing itself. By season 5, everybody knew, like, well, it's the second to last episode of the season, so who are you going to murder that I care about? It's coming.
And this
it happened every time.
Too, didn't it?
And I'm telling you, this started to feel formulaic as well.
Yeah.
It did. There's a formula to it.
I never felt that it was formulaic, and that could just be because
you hate the show, though. You hate the TV
I hate the show.
Yeah.
But I could. It's part of it is like a lot of times if I go into an experience and I have this like bewilderment where I take it for what it is and I go for the ride, and this doesn't always happen, but a lot of times I don't see, mistakes or things that are wrong with it or continuity errors or whatever because I'm so just.
You're in the story.
I'm in the story,
totally.
right?
Yeah.
So the one thing I always tell people about The Walking Dead is like it never does what you think it's going to do. They've never once have I been like this is going to happen.
Right.
And even there was a period like after The Governor where I felt like maybe there was going to be a formula, and then there was just an episode where kind of like the cliffhanger of the episode was the fact that you see Rick is talking on a phone to his dead wife.
Yes.
And the phone's not plugged in.
Yes.
And that was when I was like,
amazing.
Holy shit! Like
great storytelling.
That's
just great
the kind of thing where it's So to make a really obtuse comparison, it might not work. M. Night Shyamalan, it was like twist, and they got kind of into this thing where you have to have a twist, and it hurt him, I think.
Where you expect it.
But the one movie where he didn't do that, and I thought Signs. It's everything.
Signs had a twist, didn't it?
But it's not like a twist the way the rest of the movies are. It's like he sets all this stuff up and ties it together at the end, and so it feels like a twist, but it's not really a twist. So he kind of changes operating system.
Well, the twist is that the signs aren't the signs you've been looking at the whole time. It's a different kind of sign.
But it's like a subtler twist.
Like that
it's not
Tesla
just
song.
like Luke, I'm your father.
Just like it.
Set signs everywhere, a sign.
Yes.
Yeah.
You were in Tesla for a while, weren't you?
I was in
like
Tesla,
the 98, I think. Right?
Yeah, I recorded
Three-man
background
acoustic
vocals
jam?
and no, it was after, but yeah, I did some rhythm guitar and stuff with them. Went on the road, and I wasn't the reason I quit the band is because I wasn't allowed to wear shoes. Like you had to go on stage barefoot, and I was like, and I kept getting like shit in my feet on stage, and so I quit.
Sure.
Anyway, but that was then. This is now.
This is now. So Adam, talk about when you started reading The Walking Dead.
Right at the beginning, and because of Mike. Mike has turned me on to, this is true, and it's awful that I have to say anything nice. But
bring it.
He has turned me on to
Guns A-Blazing, Mac Afro, Gone South. So many good books. No, go ahead.
He has turned me on to so many creators and artists and books that I normally would not have looked at. The funny thing is, I would have looked at Walking Dead. Walking Dead only because I'm a huge zombie fan, and George Romero's zombie.
Yes.
Yeah. When I was in just finishing up junior high, the videotape version of Dawn of the Dead had come out, and it was $89, and I remember
when VHSs were
so
70, $80.
I got on a train from Connecticut to New York, went to Times Square, and had to haggle with this Israeli guy who owned one of those 47th Street photo places to try to get it down a little bit because it cost me too much to get the train and back.
Oh wow!
And he ended up selling it to me for like $72 rather than $89. So it was I got enough money for the train and the thing. And yeah, I like that was one of my prized possessions at that time because that movie meant so much to me. So with this, what was great was even from issue 1. There was suddenly this idea of this is going to be about characters, not about zombies. Yeah. And I think that's the thing that distinguishes the comic book immediately, is that it doesn't do what so much zombie stuff has done, which is how do we cleverly tell the zombie story? Oh, I don't care about zombies.
Yeah, right.
That's like telling, I don't want to see Jaws from the point of view of the shark.
Right.
I want to see it from these guys. And, you see something like The Meg and you go, that's Jaws from the point of view of the shark.
Exactly.
Like the shark is the most important character in that movie. That and Jason Statham's accent. But this is real Romero-loving stuff that's about the people. Yeah. And it's why a lot of his shenanigans at the back of the book, I know everybody's like blown away by the letter in the back of the book. I'm not so blown away by it because I think there's a lot of obfuscating why I think he closed the book down in this very overwritten, flowery thing to the fans, which I get. It's also just kind of like, I would have been just fine with him going, you know what, guys? Sometimes it's just time to close shop.
Yeah.
And that's cool, too.
Yeah.
Or... you know what? I've been lying the whole time that this was a story about the world. It's really a story about Rick. Rick is gone. That's the end of the show.
Right.
Cool.
So you would have written a much smaller letters page at the end.
Heck yeah.
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 I mean, numbers speaking, I will say that like at its peak, we were ordering like 150 copies of Walking Dead monthly. Mm-hmm.
And that's after the show had probably been on for a year.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
certainly, like, people got hip to the show, and as happens every time, like, Watchmen, this has happened with, people like, oh, wow, and they want to, like, kind of get ahead of the crowd and, like, see, like, Game of Thrones, that happened, too, and, like, see where it's going so they can brag to their friends that, I was at Coachella last year, and then the book and the show kind of diverged, and I think the show did kind of falter in quality. And maybe the book did too. I wasn't reading it, but I can tell you our numbers went, from 150 to 120 to 80 to by, last couple of months we were ordering like 50 to 60 copies.
Really?
So, you're Axl Rose, you're looking out and the stadium isn't as full.
Yeah.
And maybe it's time to break up the bands,
Yeah, that, and look.
Or if you're Tesla.
But it's really cool. It's really cool. Look, this book, it's had one creator the whole time. I mean, and that's not to say anything to lessen the impact of the artist.
No, not at all. No, but I mean, how many books, like most books, they change writers.
Right. Kirkman has written the whole shebang.
Yeah.
193.
I mean, even Joss Whedon, when he adapted, obviously TV shows multiple writers, but even the comic, he wrote it at first and he passed it to Vaughn, I think, and whatever.
Because you're doing other stuff.
Exactly.
Right.
And so I think having to crank this out every month and keep it vital and keep it interesting, I think that's a Herculean task.
Yeah.
On top of everything else he's trying to do. So you have to honor the fact that, look, this many years on one story, it's a long time.
Yeah. And
I will say this. I find it fascinating that the real Walking Dead fans were not like, like when you love a band and nobody knows that band, and then that band gets hot and immediately the original fans all start talking about how that band sold out,
Used
which
to be
is
cool.
it's just bullshit. It just means that the thing that you like is no longer just yours anymore. The world gets it.
Except in the case of Metallica, they did. But
I do understand. Wait, and I understand.
cut their hair, man.
Everybody's got
They
like
cut their hair.
Everybody
wear
has,
nail
yeah.
polish, man.
You're right.
Here's the thing: The Walking Dead, the comic, has remained really innovative, really interesting. Even as someone who's been reading from issue 1, I even started to go like, man, you guys better you need a new thread. You need to try something else. Because eventually I was like, how interesting is this story anymore?
I mean, I thought he kept it interesting month
He did.
after month, but it had crossed my mind too. Like, how long is this going to go?
Yes.
Penny, especially because he never wanted to really go into what's the call. I mean, you could have made
Right.
if he wanted to go into explaining and all this other stuff, he could have probably gone, but that was never his intention.
Right.
Because, like you say, the thing about this book, when I started reading this book, I was still in Chicago. Mike Schinnebarger, who was my Mike at the comic shop in Chicago,
I'm your mic now.
told me he's still my mic
sure.
too though. I have 2 mics.
All right. You fucking whore.
He told me for
Polyamorous
2 years.
Piece of...
He told me for 2 years to read this book, and in 2004 I was like, dude, zombies are overdone. Now, like I said to Adam earlier,
2004.
imagine that in 2004. But my thing with zombies was always, I love the first 3 Romero. I wanted to like 4, I don't.
No.
And
Okay.
I like a few one-offs, like Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things, and Shawn of the Dead, which
Yeah, it's
came
great.
around.
It's amazing.
And especially once people started getting kind of meta with the concept, it got better. But the thing about the Romero movies that was always so amazing to me is it's not about the fucking zombies at all. It's about the people.
It's about surviving.
And like Dawn of the Dead, right? The original. Here's the thing: it's a zombie movie, and then we find this mall, we barricade, we get every.
I mean, wasn't it the commentary on commerce and mall?
Oh, hell
Well,
yeah.
yes, but
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
the thing I'm getting at is they barricade themselves in this mall, and now we're set. What the fuck do we do?
Now what?
And then you get this thing where time starts to kind of stretch, and Romero does such a good job of making
And they're
you
so
feel
bored.
claustrophobic.
And they're bored.
And it just like they're running around, throwing money around, grabbing.
There's that amazing anti-sex sex scene in the movie where she's just sitting in bed topless.
Yeah.
Like, and you're thinking like that's the moment that like teenage boy, and there's just this boredom.
Yeah, because it's.
I
like,
love,
what do we
like,
do?
when the
Like
big
none of
battle
that's
scene-
interesting anymore either. Like it's all just nothing, and that's
Yeah.
the genius of it.
Yeah,
Like,
it is.
Maybe you can explain this. There's a scene in the movie. It's like a big fight scene with the bikers
Yeah.
and the survivors and the zombies.
Yeah.
And this motherfucker decides to put himself on the pulse thing to get his pulse.
right.
You
And
remember this?
they rip. Yeah.
Like,
yes.
why the hell would you do that? Why would you put yourself in a restraint in the middle of a zombie biker epic battle?
Because Tom Savini had talked George Romero into a really cool death scene where we ripped that guy's arm off.
It was
there
really
you go.
cool.
That's literally what it is.
But it's
Tom
like-
Savini's like, I got an arm laying around. I can do this gag.
I'm like, what the fuck is this guy doing? Like,
dude, well, there's a number of what the fuck moments in that movie.
but that is like the
Yeah.
most
But
what the fuck
also-
scene in cinema
also-
history, dude.
and this
like,
is-
here, oh wait, everybody's fighting. Here, let me check my pulse.
Dude, how about the fact that the guy who gets the top of his head chopped
the
off?
chopper. But that's a zombie though.
Wait, I got it.
Yeah.
But why is his head square before the chopper comes? It's
'Cause-
like Frankenstein's monster walks up, and he climbs up just high enough on a thing.
Yeah,
it's
right.
It's so silly.
I don't
but
question
it's great.
zombies, like
But
what their
it's
thought
great.
process.
Well, and also, and this is me being the fan apologist here, like, we just got done saying where everything was boring to these people, so maybe, maybe the guy is like, you know what, I know we're in the middle of
Yes.
a really big fight, but, fuck
I
it,
wonder
I'm
how
gonna
my
check my
blood
pulse
pressure-
anyway.
By the way, in the middle,
That needs to be a
here's the thing,
diorama.
that scene for me is the thing that makes that movie actually so much more classic than any other zombie movie. Is that scene specifically because you have these bikers coming into a mall and they're stealing television sets to watch
what?
nothing. They're literally grabbing and huge tube television sets. I'm like, what are you gonna watch on that, you imbecile?
You wait and see, buddy.
But
Channel
that's-
5 will be back on the air by March.
When they're
News,
breaking,
motherfucker.
when they're breaking into the cash registers and grabbing the cash, I'm like,
What are you
just
gonna spend it
spend
on?
on what? There's no commerce anymore.
Yeah.
But that's the genius of
Well,
that's
Yeah.
what Romero's up to.
Yeah, exactly. The consumer,
Yes.
Okay, so
But-
all right.
so-
So it's commentary.
Yes.
This has the same where it's always been about the people, and so
Yes.
I was saying I resisted Mike Shinabarger for
Never
2 years.
resist me again.
And then he...
No, the other mic.
For Christmas in 2005
he resisted me.
2006, he gave me the first 4 trades. I read them in a night, and I went back to him like, I'm in. You know, I'm totally in.
Yeah.
And ever since then, it has been the best comic and the first comic I read every month. When it's in the poll, it's, you know, I'm reading.
Go home and read it first.
Yeah, nothing else. The roof could be on fire.
Yeah.
I don't care. I'm reading this comic, and I said to Adam earlier, it's always better when a band you like breaks up before they start to suck, because better to leave them wanting more than to overstay your welcome.
Yeah.
As much as I love Black Sabbath, do we need Never Say Die? Probably not.
It wasn't bad.
It's not bad, but it's not really.
It's better than a fucking Coldplay album.
Well, I mean.
Oh my God.
I know.
You're
What?
that guy.
The Coldplay guy.
No, you're that snob.
I don't think it's snobbish to not like Coldplay.
It is.
I think it
is.
Okay.
It is. What are we going to hate on Gwyneth Paltrow now? Are we going to go for that low-hanging fruit tonight, too?
Where should I start?
Really?
Oh, my Lord.
Vaginal steaming is going to get a beating tonight.
No.
Wait, vaginal steaming?
Yeah, that's a big Gwyneth Paltrow thing. You don't know about that?
No, luckily.
I've done my share of
part of
vaginal
her
steaming.
brand.
I've done my share of vaginal steaming, and let me tell you. Check my Yelp reviews.
This has been drinking with vaginal steaming. I'm terrified to say that I really want to Google vaginal steaming because I just don't know what it is. I don't want to know.
It's on X Hamster, dude.
I'm
really not.
Once again,
It's actually like a real
this
thing.
evening. X-Hamster, for when you want to watch videos of
Have you ever vaginally
hamsters
steamed?
being inserted into people's rectums, I guess.
Anybody in the crowd? Anybody vaginally steamed tonight? Or not tonight, anytime. John, I know you've done your share of vaginal steaming.
I'll talk about it.
I've seen the flat irons, sir. Which is really what Walking Dead was all about at the end of the day. That, like, not to spoil it for everybody,
Vaginal steaming.
vaginally steamed zombies was the secret to bringing all the zombies
Oh
back
my
to life.
God.
They just need to put a little steam on it. Psh, and miracle cure.
So
You brought it up.
I really did, and I'm regretting every choice I've made this season thus far.
Including
From
coming
getting
back,
into the car.
calling me like, hey,
Hey, dude, you guys still
You
doing
doing
that
a
Walking
show?
Dead thing? That'd be awesome.
Oh my God. So I don't know about you guys, but I know you don't care, but but
No, I'm broken up. I am broken up.
I'm broken up, and
agree.
I thought it was. Did you think? I thought it was a great ending.
I still have
hasn't
not,
read it.
I have not read the issue.
Really?
I read the letter, and it pissed me off so much that I was like, I'll read this when I'm in a better
Oh,
place.
Thanks
wow.
for prepping for the show tonight.
Fight me.
Didn't you call him 5 minutes before we went on air?
That's see, but that was the perspective because I'm not drinking his Kool-Aid on this.
Okay.
I'm not.
You're gonna read it though.
The number of people that have said to me that letter is so great, I'm like, no, I think it's a cop out, and I don't think it actually addresses why he dumped this series.
I mean, I definitely think I want to believe him, so I'm just going to believe him.
Which is great.
But I also think that there has to be, like we were talking about earlier, there's got to be some part of him that is like just needs to be done with it because, like you said, it's a huge task to do that for 15 years.
Yep.
But the other thing is like. He mentions in the letter there's now 4 shows based on that, which I don't understand because I know there's the core show and there's the Fear.
And there's a new show that's launching. And there's like a video game show too.
Okay. So
Yeah.
at some point I also wonder if he's just like, let me get away from this before, because as
well, there's Talking Dead as well. I bet he's.
so that could be.
Thank God we're not
that.
that.
Could be. But so
Ryan Seacrest or whoever you are.
our
What's
guest
his name?
Chris Hardwick.
Chris
Chris
Hardwick.
Hardwick.
There you go.
Same difference.
Kind of an important guy in your industry, but
Yeah.
but it's all good.
Comics have always been action figure
Chris
insider.
Hardwick
No,
and Ryan
action
Seacrest.
figure insider. Daniel
Daniel Pickett, yeah.
Pickett said when he was on this show, comics have always been a strip mining industry, and that's definitely true.
We
They
create
never
IP.
strip mine this ever as a comic.
What do you mean?
The show, it's been one core title. They could have easily. I'm sure at some point, somebody was
Yeah.
like, Robert, let's have fine. You don't want to introduce
The Running Dead.
What's the biker guy on the show? Norman Reedus. What's his name?
Oh, they couldn't bring him into comics because that was created by AMC.
Yes.
But like they didn't need to also, but
No,
Daryl.
Yeah.
I'm
like you just said his name.
no.
I'm gonna tell y'all a little secret, and y'all can Google me and fact check me. It was in Hollywood Reporter.
Don't Google
Don't
Mike
Google
Wellman,
Mike
'cause
Wellman
you will get
ever.
an image of
You're gonna
vaginal
get
steaming
penis
that will
pictures all
never
over the
leave
place.
your mind.
No, but there's a gentleman named Jeremy Ellis, Elice, and I didn't know this till I read the article. I'm like, holy shit! So he brought Breaking Bad to AMC,
Oh,
and he brought Walking Dead to AMC.
Wow.
And guess where he discovered Walking Dead?
where? Here?
I mean, I wouldn't bring it up if he didn't discover it here. So, Jeremy
Did you
Ellis.
discover Breaking Bad here too?
No,
When
no.
you had your meth business going on?
When I had my meth.
Yeah,
No, but he was at another company. I want to say it was like HBO or something. Breaking Bad was sent to them and rejected, and then when he
HBO.
left HBO, he loved the project, brought it over to AMC, and they're like, "What else you got?" And Walking Dead, he discovered at the Comic Bug, and you can fact check me because I kind of want to fact check myself right now as I say this, but I'm pretty sure I have that article where he's like, "My favorite comic shop is the Comic Bug."
Mike
where I
Wellman
discovered
is
the Walking-
amazing.
He didn't
was in
name me.
Tesla
He didn't
for
name
2
me.
years, but his feet were a problem, so he left, and then he started this comic
he
shop.
left because of his
and then
bunions,
I met
the
him,
whole
and then he
thing.
was wearing a Tesla shirt, but it had like the Ghostbusters, like the circle
So
with the
Robert
slash through it.
Kirkman, you're welcome.
There you go. I believe that.
How would I make that shit
Dude,
up,
you
dude?
you handed it to me. I mean,
Right.
And
You-
knowing what I do, that's why you handed it to me. So
Yeah.
yeah, that makes sense.
That's why I hand you everything I hand
You
you.
hand me
right.
great stuff all the time.
Yeah.
I was kind of
I know what you do too, but
No, you've never given me a comic that I've then read and not liked.
but I've given you some comics. You're like, why is this in my pull? And I'm
Yes.
like, I thought you'd like it, and then you're like, nah. Conan.
Well, that definitely happens.
That hurt me.
That
man. When you put
probably
Conan
happens
back.
on a regular basis.
No, it does.
You've
I'm
put
just
some
kidding.
stuff in my pull too, where I'm like, really?
Yes, there are times when I know that I'm a sucker, and I will just give you more money, and I can smell when you do that.
Like I smell blood.
Like he didn't just put he didn't put Conan in my. Pull.
There was like
he
4
put
Conan
like
books,
9
right?
Conan titles, and I was.
They
like,
all
dude,
came out
I'm
the same
not-
week.
It's not yet. Well,
By the
there's an
way,
issue.
I bought those books myself.
Right,
Like not
we
the
were
ones I
just
put in
talking
your
about
pull, but I was
strip
buying
mining.
them myself. I was like, I'm buying this. Adam might like it.
9 books came out in the same.
I mean,
It was
Marvel.
ridiculous.
That's strip
It
mining
was
right there.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Daniel Pickett, thank you.
Is that the term he came up? Did
yeah.
he send that tonight? Or was
No,
it-
no, that was when he was first
Very
on the
sick.
show. But it is
Yeah.
so true because if you think about look at the first example I can think of that didn't work, because in the '80s when I was growing up reading comics, it was when I came into comics, Spider-Man just had 3 titles: Web, Peter
Right.
Parker, Spectacular, and Amazing.
Yeah.
And I didn't read it all monthly.
Marvel
so maybe
Team Up, too.
Maybe Marvel. So I didn't feel like it was oversaturated, but that's because I didn't read it every month.
And they were 75 cents each too.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the Punisher was the first one where it's
Oh,
like you
yeah.
get your core title, right?
Yeah.
The Mike Baron Claus Jansen, and then after a while, then
Warzone.
War
You had, then you had
Journal.
you had
War
War
Journal.
Journal.
War
And War
Journal.
Journal was pretty good. And
Really
it was
good.
bi-monthly.
Yeah, I dug it. I dug War
And
Journal.
then you had Warzone.
Yep.
And then it's getting a little bit more.
Then you-
Number
then-
1 with the die cut cover.
Then you had the fucking the weapons issues, like the ones that
the Armory,
detailed the weapons.
Punisher's
Yes.
Armory.
Yeah.
And then I believe at some point they added
Punisher
a 4th one.
magazine.
And then that was right before they were like, oh, nobody reads this anymore. Well, I wonder why.
Right.
I wonder
Right.
why. You
Right.
know, it's like that.
There's too many. Yeah.
And this book never did that.
Nope.
Like, it never did that. So,
I think they only had a couple of special issues.
yeah, there was like
Like a free comic day, and then
Yeah,
there
there
was
were
a
just a
Playboy
couple of-
insert. Yeah, remember that? There was a Playboy insert.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, there was. I'm not making that shit up. Don't raise your eyebrow at me. That's what they fucking.
they had
I didn't
they
do
had
it.
the Negan graphic novel, which
Yes.
Collected a lot of other
I
shit.
thought was amazing. One of the things June, Mike's partner in the comic book,
Which, by the way, whenever you get a shipment with Walking Dead, he'd always like take 20 minutes.
Oh
and
no,
go.
June is no. He's
he's hardcore.
This is his book.
Yeah. So I don't know what he's gonna do now with his life. I mean,
June called it with Negan, where the last issue of the comic that he was in, where he kind of walks away. June, we talked about it, and June's like, I think that's it. I don't think we're going to see Negan again. And I didn't. I was like, no, because at some point I was even hoping
Right.
early on, like a couple of years ago, that if Rick dies and it becomes like the Negan and Carl story, I'd be super fucking happy because
Right.
Negan in the book was my favorite character. Like, of my all-time favorite characters, there's Al Swearingen from Deadwood, and there's
Right.
Negan from the comic.
Right.
And those might be my 2 favorite characters.
Negan was a bad guy, that was.
But he was
Yes, but complicated.
That wasn't
complicated.
He's like all the characters in this book. He's interesting.
Exactly.
Yeah,
There's
got
nothing-
layers.
Yeah, he's an interesting character. I will say this though, for me, issue 100, and here's the deal with me. So, I will pick up my books on Wednesday, and my sweet, amazing wife, who really puts up with way too much, she will drive on Wednesday so that I can get in the car and read the issue.
That's awesome.
Okay, so I would be reading. So I'm reading issue 100, and I suddenly gasp. And Deborah goes, "You all right?" I was like, "I don't know if I'm all right." And truly, I started sobbing in the car, and I closed the book. I was like, "I don't know if I can keep reading this book. I don't know if I can do it." And famously, it's that issue, and I'm telling you, I had to sit for a week and go like, I don't know if I really want to do this.
Is
to
that where
myself
Carl
anymore.
loses his eye?
No, it's where
No.
Glenn.
It's where-
Puberty. Sorry, Glenn gets Negan
It's
kills
when
Glenn.
Negan kills Glenn.
Oh, okay.
And I was like,
And it's fucking brutal.
it's so
Yeah, he beats him
brutal.
with the bat, right?
Yes, and I got to
Yeah.
tell you, like there's a perfect example of where the show, in its efforts to try to be different than the comic, I think failed miserably.
Yeah, it did.
And by the way, look, I don't hate the show. I really don't. And I know a lot of guys who work on the show.
You
and
worked with Greg Nicotero.
Yeah,
back in the day?
and Greg's a good guy and has worked really hard to make that show interesting. And look, I actually think it's a well done show. I think that there's a problem with keeping that show as buoyant as it needs to be when so much of it is truly walking.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so much walking.
Yeah.
And for me, when it gets to that moment in the show where they tried to be sneaky and kind of fool the audience, I went, "You're not fooling anybody." They bring him back just to do the same thing that's in the. I was like, "Oh, this is just," but we're gonna kill two. Okay, all right, whatever. For me, it was beating up the audience at that point. Where the book did what the book does best, which is it hits you from out of nowhere, and suddenly you're like, wow, did I just go through this emotional thing in a comic book? Because let's be honest, there's not a lot of comic books where you're sobbing at the end.
No,
they
definitely not.
don't exist.
And this has done it several times.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
That's a prime
Heck
example.
yeah.
Lori and the Baby.
Absolutely.
Somebody that watches the show at work that had never read the comic asked me about Judith or whatever. I'm like, oh no, the baby didn't survive the prison. And he's like, what? I'm like, dude, the way the baby exits in the comic book is like Lori's running with the baby.
Hideous.
Somebody whips around a corner and blows them both away.
Yes.
And it's, I mean, I remember reading. I
Horrifying.
remember the day I read it.
It's horrifying.
It's like, am I fucking reading this?
Yes.
What the, So yeah, definitely the book does it, and that goes into the ending too. Like
They also didn't make Lori such a kind of a nasty character. I mean, in the book, she was far more. You kind of understood what was going on.
I mean, I feel like
That's the blonde girl from the TV show, right?
No.
No.
My major
No,
problem.
that's Laurie Holden who played who played Andrea.
I don't know.
Yeah.
My main problem with the show, I think it's a very well done show, especially the effects. But my main problem with the show is, and I mean, I don't. It's not even necessarily their fault. It's just I don't think this translates.
Right.
And part of it is what you said, the walking, and I mean, there's just you need, you live with this once a month for 15 years,
Right.
And you get a season of how many episodes are in a season? 13?
20?
Well, they've changed it several times because the show became more popular, so they started adding
More,
episodes.
okay. So then you had the mid-season split and stuff like
Yes.
that, but it was never enough. Like I just never thought Andrew Lincoln became Rick. He never had the
Right.
the
Right.
kind of
But it's a comic inspired by cinema that inspired
Yes.
cinema from the comic.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
It's definitely a merger there, you know?
it's a
Yeah. And look, there are seasons of the television show that I think are brilliant, like entire seasons. Where I'm like, that was an amazing arc of this story. And there are seasons where you're just look, even the first couple where they were kind of kicking the tires on it to make sure it would work. Look, I think Darabont did stuff in the first season that I think is amazing and has never been duplicated. Where I think he did. I mean, but Darabont's really a filmmaker, and he's also a great writer. So
and he's difficult. That's why he wasn't involved.
well, there's a lot.
But
of
I think he had a
reasons.
vision.
There's a lot of reasons.
I have a thought. I'm going to throw this out there. I'm going to interject. I'm sorry, guys. Splinter and the
please.
Thorn. What's the next great comic? It would make a great AMC series. I'm going to start.
Guns a-blazing.
No. I'm not going to be self-centered for once. I'm going to start by saying I would love to see a Stray Bullet series on AMC.
Dude, I've been hoping for it for
that'd be great.
how long?
I agree with you.
Since
No, I
1996.
agree with
I
you.
mean,
I
it's
think
very
that's-
cinematic. Like that.
Absolutely.
It's a storyboard. Each issue
Yeah,
is
yes,
it's
it
a
is.
storyboard.
I would
Yes,
love
it
to
is.
see it.
And it's very AMC.
And it would make a perfect fit, and it'd be Quentin Tarantino meets David Lapham
All right.
meets every movie
Well,
Tarantino.
and
did.
it's such likable. So that's one of the few books that like as
It would translate very well.
It would translate very well, and it's like it's one of the ones that I still need to read every month, like right away. And it's been, I mean, there was a 9-year hiatus. Remember, we did an episode where, like,
With Dave.
when it was like, well, yeah, but
We did
I mean,
one
but
with him, yeah.
also like, just when it came back, when it was announced, that was such a huge thing because I'd
Yeah.
literally been
Yes.
waiting for 9 fucking years,
Yeah.
And
No, that's a great book.
it's such
Yeah,
a good
I
book.
agree.
It would translate. Skeleton Crew, maybe.
Yeah. I bet someone already has the rights.
Yeah, probably.
I'll bet you anything. I'll bet you anything.
It's an easy thing to make happen. Why haven't they made it happen yet?
That's not. Do you see how many books are on the shelves here?
Yeah, but
They're almost all of those books have somebody attached to them already.
wow.
They all sit on shelves along with screenplays. They just sit there. It's,
Well, they don't just sit here at the comic book. I sell them.
Okay.
That's why you had 9 Conans in your
here's-
hold last week.
Exactly. Here's the issue because
Yeah.
because the problem is that there are so many books out there that would be better television shows than even what's on television right now. And right now we're in this glorious period of television where stuff is so good and so interesting. And
You can't watch it all. You have to,
There's no way. There's
Yeah.
no way. So, but there's a ton of books here that are incredible, right? Or that if they were done correctly, they would be. I mean, we're watching Nosferatu right now, right?
How is it?
It's terrific.
Mike
It's
Patton
terrific.
does the soundtrack.
Yeah.
It's really good. It's really good.
How's the soundtrack?
Oh
It's
my
good.
god,
It's
it's
good.
really good. Mike Patton's a god. There you go. You happy? Does that make you feel you good?
Yes,
You
okay.
good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay,
Continue.
awesome. Oh my god.
Continue on.
Oh my god! If we don't make a Faith No More reference at some point, he's
It's in his rider,
dissatisfied.
actually.
Yeah,
To be
Yeah,
on this
it's
show,
on the
yeah.
rider.
exactly.
I have to wear Faith No More underwear every episode too.
You don't believe it? Look.
Good. But here's the thing: you have to sell these concepts to people, and the thing about comic books versus all other media is the people who are writing comics. They are thinking so far outside the box most of the time that it's taken. This is why it's taken this long to have this moment of comics in
Yeah.
cinema.
Yeah.
Like, let's be honest. Look at the way the difference between DC and Marvel, right? Marvel figured out the secret sauce.
Yeah.
And it's a very simple figuring out. Let the people who write the comic books actually make the movies.
Yeah.
And it works.
They get it.
And it works every time. It works. I mean, every time. I mean, think about it. Like Spider-Man came out this week, and I was like, okay, when are they gonna trip? Like I would, and I almost get a little nervous. Like I'm waiting for to see Rotten Tomatoes, and it's a 43 for a Spider-Man.
You're waiting to get like The Room, but like the Spider-Man movie.
Right,
It's
or
The Room.
well, let's be honest. I'm waiting to see Justice League, but for Marvel.
Right.
I don't think that'll ever
It doesn't happen. And there is a consistent thread to that.
Yeah.
The people who are the caretakers of that information are the ones building that universe. That makes the difference. Look, the best television shows are because the writer is shepherding the show.
Yeah.
That's why TV has become such a strong medium, because the people who are creating the material are actually the ones giving you the material
love it.
week by week.
Deadly Class, which I thought was phenomenal, and which didn't get picked up and broke my heart
Yeah.
for a second season. But remember,
Yeah.
he was a showrunner.
Oh, yeah.
And he talks in his
And it's
back
a great show. And by the way, I will bet you anything it does get picked up somewhere.
He
else.
said
hope so.
he said that it's not going to, and he's like, if you want to follow the continuing adventures of Deadly
Read the
Class,
comic.
Read the
it's in the
comic.
comic, yeah.
And the comic's amazing.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I mean, but it was so fucking.
But by
good.
the way, because the reason I brought up Nosferatu is, I mean,
That's Joe Hill, right?
Yeah.
yeah, but the fact that Lock and Key, I know it's coming again, that it took them this long to figure out how to do that.
They made one complete pilot.
Yes,
10
for
years
Fox.
ago, yeah.
But talk about a book that is truly the storyboards for your show.
Right.
Don't mess with it. Just do this.
just do this.
Just do what's right there.
That's
Which, by the way, was sometimes what bothered me about the television show versus this, where I just go, well, and again, look, I'm not somebody who thinks that books and movies should not be different.
Right.
There
Agreed.
are some times
Agreed.
I love the book The Color Purple. I love the movie The Color Purple.
I mean,
and they're
Sin
different
City.
items.
Sin City was the first time I saw a direct translation
Yeah.
of comic to cinema.
Yes.
And I loved it the first time I saw it, but then the second time I saw it, I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. You cannot. You have to make adjustments to the medium.
You do. You
Yeah.
do. Yes. And especially for replay value.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's why the second one didn't do well, because people went, yeah, we've seen this emperor in his clothes. We got it.
Well, and also they waited 10 fucking years.
That too.
You know,
Well, that
too.
and, yeah, and Frank Miller's
nuts.
view of the world, is outdated.
Well, but look, and you
Well
look
said.
at how successful 300 was.
The first one.
The first one, right. But I'm saying, and that movie is so different than the book.
Yeah.
It really is so different.
That was Snyder too, wasn't
Zack
it?
Snyder. Yep.
You know, it is amazing to me. We're talking about, like, and I love what you said, where it's taken this long to catch up.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to tell you, as awful as most DC stuff is, I was so floored. So last month, in anticipation of Swamp Thing, which
Right.
I watched one episode of and hated
Wasn't good.
so much. I'm
It
gonna
looks
give,
great.
I'm gonna give it a second chance.
Okay.
It's good.
But
It looks great.
I cannot even believe Doom Patrol is the best
I heard it's
adaptation
great.
I've ever
I heard
seen.
it's absolutely
It
great.
is so, and I'm watching this. I'm going. I'm living in a world where somebody adapted weird late '80s Grant Morrison
Yes.
to a fucking TV show, almost exactly. I mean, there are changes, right?
Sure, of course.
But the stuff. I mean, I'm watching.
No, I've
this,
heard
like,
it's fantastic, and
it's-
I've not seen it yet.
It's
so I
so
can't
good,
really-
Adam. I mean, it.
Look, but by the way, to give the devil the due, I actually think DC is starting to get it. And I will tell you, I went to see Shazam, which I was dragged to. I mean, truly, my wife is pulling me, and I'm
yeah.
like, I owe you. All right, let's go. It was terrific. It was absolutely terrific.
So-
I couldn't believe it. I was like, this is an adorable. Like, this is actually a comic book movie that you can actually bring kids to, and it's totally, and adults are still going to be entertained by it. It's goofy, and it is the comic book version of Big. And I was like, I'm all in.
I heard something about that. I had completely dismissed it based on the trailer. I was like, oh my god, this is like, ugh.
That's really good.
But I heard something about it being insanely dark. And I'm like, wait, what?
No,
For Doom
no,
Patrol?
but honestly, no, this is Shazam. We've moved.
Oh, okay.
I know you had something.
I just got a
important
text.
to
No,
deal
I
with.
got
Absolutely.
a text from my friend in Manila, Karen. You know, Karen.
I
very
get it.
important to me.
Hey.
And she's like, she's watching, she's chiming in, but we have no science officer. She's like, and she's trying to communicate with us, and she's like, say hi. And I'm like, hello.
Which, by the way, Chris and Jordan say hi.
Yes.
I mean, to everybody, not just to
And
Karen.
Adam and everybody. Yes. All right. Continue. Sorry.
Shazam.
Yeah, so... Oh, man.
No, sorry.
I had heard that it was dark, but I wondered...
No, it had
It's
a good
not
villain
dark.
though. It actually had a good villain, and for any of these movies to have a good villain, a well played villain as well, where you actually cared about the consequences,
Right.
and there were consequences. But I gotta tell you, I think The Rock being an executive producer of that movie was the best thing that ever could have happened to that film. I really do.
interesting.
And that he's so invested in playing Black Adam, I think he was really invested in how that movie and how Shazam was going to come out.
Oh, interesting.
And his fingerprints are all over it, and you feel it. You're watching the movie, and you feel like there's a sense of fun and a sense of the audience where you feel like somebody who cares about the audience having a really good time, someone's there watching that happen.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
You
I
want to
couldn't
feel
believe
The
it,
Rock's
but it's pretty
fingerprints
cool.
on you?
The what?
The Rock's fingerprints on you?
Hey, man, come on.
I didn't understand.
You said it, not me.
I said Rock's fingerprints are on the film.
Oh,
You feel
okay.
it on the film.
Alright.
I think you're working something out. about
Yeah,
The Rock.
maybe.
I'm gonna
Maybe.
smell what he's cooking.
That's right. The peanut butter skin. Oh.
Yeah.
That's ominous. So let's guys.
I'm into my Mississippi mud. So
I'm glad
shit.
that you guys came. And
Shit's about to get real.
We haven't done one of these in a while, and I just this was the impetus for it, and I'm glad that we were able to do this. Adam, I'm glad you joined us, and
Hope you'll come around.
No, I
yeah.
loved it, man. Are you kidding? I love you guys.
I just really think that I don't know. It's changed my relationships. I've always had a flagship book that I read, and right now
Our relationship has changed now.
No,
This
not
book is
no.
canceled.
The I guess
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think maybe Stray Bullets is now my monthly.
I think so.
You know,
and it's back soon.
So, but it's.
I just look. I think the ending of this book, and I wonder because you and I started talking about it before this, but I think the fact that it coincides so closely with the end of Game of Thrones
And Star Wars,
Which I had not even thought of that because I don't watch Game of Thrones, so like it didn't even occur.
He mentions it.
I think there's a certain. Yeah, I know he mentions it, but I here's the thing. I think that I think the show, the comic, all of it, like you said about the number of books you were ordering, I think there's a certain diminishing returns, and I think he did want to go out on top to some degree. I don't really look. I'm not crazy about the send off. I know he. Oh, I'm surprising the audience. He's a guy who keeps saying that Rick is not the book, and then he kills the book. The
One
issue
issue
after Rick dies. Okay, so am I supposed to believe you or not believe you?
Right.
And I'm not crazy about creators who lie for effect. I don't think that's really interesting.
I mean, it could also not be a lie. I mean, it could just be. Maybe I don't know. Again,
he killed the book the month after
the
Rick
fan
died.
apologist. You know, I mean, I don't know. You may be right. I'm gonna choose to believe otherwise because it's such a perfect.
And
thing to me.
wait, and by the way, I don't disagree with you. I think the book itself is extraordinary, and I think what he did was amazing. I mean, again, I'm saying
right.
Herculean task, brilliantly done.
Right.
I think his goodbye is apologizing for something he doesn't necessarily need to apologize
I can see that.
for.
I can see that.
Where I go, wow, he doth protest too much
Yeah,
at the end of
there
this
you go.
book. Where I'm like, wow, this is a really long goodbye.
6 pages.
Honestly, the end is really, really good. And quite frankly, I would have rather walked away from this with a lot more questions.
I think you should have read the comic before the letter.
I understand.
But I mean, I don't think you're wrong either. I definitely think there's more to it than what he puts in that
letter. He did explain, like, I could have ended it like this, or this.
Yeah.
But I mean, I also think that, I mean, I've known for a while, or at least I choose to believe, he's been saying it for years. He had to be like 3-4 years ahead on plotting.
Absolutely.
Because number one, like, it's also this long running, and it's never been late.
Right.
In fact, I think a couple times it's been
amazing.
fucking early, you know,
Yeah.
and it's like, what, you know.
Death came early. He wanted to go to 300.
Who-
Issue 300 was.
Oh yeah, well he said he always wanted to go there, but you know also it's like there is a thing where it's like no, the story's done, like
Right.
And I like the fact that and one of the things about the letter that I really liked was he was talking about like I started trying to figure out ways to do it, and I just realized no, don't.
You
do
know what
that.
I just
Don't
realized?
do that.
He
Right.
kind of dick slapped McFarlane.
Yeah, he did.
Because McFarlane Spawn 300 is coming up in 4 months, and McFarlane's like, you know, like my.
Does anyone read Spawn?
Yes, no,
Anyone
it's
here?
growing. It's growing.
What's growing? Spawn?
My penis.
That was another alley oop. As soon as I
No.
said it, I'm like,
Thank goodness, thank goodness, because an
Thanks for
elevator
that
button
question.
is
No,
is
but
shaming.
no, but like Spawn is like
yes.
he's gonna be the next independent
smell
artist
what-
to make
what
it
he's
to
cooking?
300 after Cerebus, which Dave
Right.
Sim,
Yes.
role model for us all, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Google Dave Sim.
Yeah, right.
But the thing is that like I was like thinking, I was like, that's cool, like Spawn's making it to 300. But then I started thinking about like, well, no, like Todd took a lot of time off from writing, drawing, and he kept the machine rolling.
Yeah.
And we're about to get to 300, and like right now the book is actually really good. I put
Yes,
I
you put
that
it in my poll. Absolutely.
I put it in his poll, and he's like, "What the fuck is this doing in my poll?" I'm like, "You should check it out," because like right now Spawn or Todd is like
He started working at Taco Bell, right? Was that it? And then he ends up moving up, and he gets into corporate, and then he
Spawn.
Yeah, I thought that was the whole thing, and then
No, that was the lead singer of Tesla.
no, I thought it was anyway.
So anyway, there's this like run up of Spawn 300, and he's doing these homage covers because Spider-Man
Yes.
he drew 298, 299,
Yeah,
300.
Like Todd drew those covers, and now he's homaging them with his own
his own-
creation,
right,
which is
absolutely.
genius.
Yeah, it's great.
And so yeah, I mean, he's feeling really good about himself, and he should, you know. I mean, he kept that character alive,
Yes.
and it's having a second or third breath of life. So anyway, yeah.
I mean, there is something about that, like, that is a feat in and of itself, But also, a book that gets, like, if this book had gotten a 300, which, but I feel like it would have at least been a little bit more solid, where I feel like Spawn, I mean, I haven't read it since, I don't even, like the 90s, like when I realized, like, oh, this is awful. But that's one of those, maybe I'm wrong, but it's one of those books, like, I feel like you could probably have skipped 10 years of it and not really missed anything, because it's just, it's that, the moment, I remember realizing this about the X-Men and Wolverine, where I was like, oh, they're never going to be done telling Wolverine's, it was when Origins that Danny Way was writing came out.
Right.
I was like, oh, they're just going to keep inserting more stuff.
Absolutely.
Because, so none of this actually means anything. They can just stretch this. And, it's like, I always go to The Sopranos, which I fucking love.
I love it too.
But it was originally, I remember reading way back in the day, David Chase wrote it as a 4-act or 4-season thing.
Yes.
And of course, here comes HBO, and they're like, see the dump truck filled with cash? Could you maybe?
Sure.
2 more seasons?
But,
and it shows. It's still great.
But let's be honest, that's exactly the ending I'm talking about. Where there were people who lost their fucking minds over that ending. I love that ending. And I go, okay, that show is Tony Soprano.
Yeah.
And when Tony Soprano is gone, there's no show.
Yeah.
And I don't understand how anyone has a doubt that Tony Soprano is dead.
I know, right?
Like, I'm like, no, that's the point. Him and his family just got whacked.
Done.
End of show.
Done.
David Simon never says a word. He never says, everybody on Earth is like, what happened? And he's like, didn't you watch the show?
Yeah.
That's what happened.
The thing about
That's
that,
the end of the show.
That always got me, because the way that happens, like those last 10 minutes of that episode, I'm like, it changes tone so drastically.
Yes.
I'm like, it's like a sitcom. What the fuck is going on?
And all to Don't Stop Believing.
Yes, and it's the weirdest. Like, they're trying to park, and then like they're sitting around a table, and I'm like, what is fucking? And then it ends, and I'm like, and I couldn't believe people hated it so much.
I couldn't believe it either.
Like,
I sat in my house, and I actually gave the show a standing ovation from my couch.
Oh, I love you
I
for
got
that.
up, and I was like,
I love you for that.
Because that's an ending, and don't explain it to me. I don't need you to spoon feed
No,
me.
exactly.
Figure it out.
Exactly.
Come on.
Like, afterwards, like David Chase comes out, he's like, "Well, let me explain." No, but
So that's how this comic ended?
no. Well,
Yeah, it did. Let me explain.
yeah, you're right.
I'm going to explain for a long time to a captive audience. And again, look, there's a part of it that I understand. He's in some way going, look, we're doing this abruptly. I need to explain it to you. And that part of it, I do respect that. And look, I think Kirkman is sort of the great story of comic book nerd does great.
Yeah.
So I think that he wants to communicate to the. And look, I will tell you, the letters page in Walking Dead is something that I've always read. So
It's like 4 comic books.
the what?
He writes like several different comic books.
Yeah, he writes a lot of
Yeah.
comics.
He just ended Invincible. Like,
Yeah, Invincible ended recently.
But I think,
Or-
but I gotta tell you, I think that's part of the reason this is gone too.
yeah.
I think it's part of the reason.
Because of Invincible?
No, because of all of it. I think that he has not gotten the same kind of love that he has from this book on other stuff. Even though he's written some brilliant other things, that nothing is caught like this has.
No,
Right.
definitely.
Including his other media projects, and this is the one. Look, sorry to sound like him for a second, but when I started my career, I started with the Friday the 13th movie, and the guy that was my producer, the guy who was my boss, was Shawn Cunningham, who created the first movie,
Right.
directed and produced the first Friday the 13th. And when he offered me the job to write and direct Jason Goes to Hell, he said, look, get the fucking hockey mask out of the movie and I'll let you do it.
That's awesome.
Okay? Now, it's awesome. It's also
Oh,
terrifying.
yeah, right.
Because I'm 22 and I was like, and I'm like, wait a minute, take the hockey mask out. That is Friday the 13th. What do you want me to do? But here's the thing. Whether he'll ever admit this or not, and I don't care if he admits it, what I discovered about Shawn is that hockey mask, while it bought him many beautiful homes and put his kids through school and paid for everything. He's the man in the hockey mask.
It's a creative anchor, right?
He can't leave that mask. No one will let him leave that mask. Wes Craven desperately wanted to make other kinds of movies, and the only way he could make Music of the Heart, which Meryl Streep started. Meryl Streep saw that Wes Craven was somebody she wanted to work with, right? The only way he could make that movie is if he agreed to do Scream 3. So only the Weinsteins would give him the money. That's the only way he could do it.
Wow.
So these guys get so stuck with this, and I think that Kirkman, to some degree, I think he sees himself shambling along with the zombies, and I'm sure that he would like to spend the rest of his life doing anything else.
That's a beautiful, beautiful analogy. I love that. Shambling along with the zombies. Yeah, I mean,
I think he was trapped. I think this is his freedom
Saying
song.
he's done.
yeah. You know what? Robert Kirkman, Charlie
Cheers.
Adlard, Image Comics. So,
Everybody, Adam Marcus, Shawn Baker, and to everybody
Mike
watching
Wellman.
at home.